Hello, so today I thought I would film a book video because it's been ages since I filmed a book related video. I will link blog posts below which are relevant, but today I thought it would just be nice to do a bit of an overview of the books I read last year. I don't think I've grabbed all of them, but I've grabbed most of them. I do have a full blog post on every book I read last year, and also I want to talk about the ones I'm currently reading and the books which are on my reading list, which hopefully I will be reading in the near future. Now, I was very organised and put the books all into little neat piles by my feet so that I knew what order I wanted to talk about them in. Then I picked up loads of the books to get a thumbnail and dropped them all. So now I'm just surrounded by a shit ton of books on my bed. So I'm going to grab in a random order. I haven't refreshed my memory on any of these books, so I'm not sure how this video is going to go, but hopefully I will be able to tell you some valuable stuff about them and if I'd recommend them, which is all anybody really needs to know, I guess. I'm going to try to start with the books I read towards the start of last year, but honestly, we're just seeing what happens. Also, I was wearing this outfit in my last video, I think. Does anybody care? It's a different day. It's been washed. Just wore it again because I like it. Right, first we have Call Me By Your Name. Spoken about this a bazillion million times. This is a book by Andre Ackman. You might have seen the film, which I think the film is very good and very beautiful. Normally I don't like the films go alongside books, but this one I do. But also this book, I read the book first, which I'm glad I did it in that order. So this book is a fictional piece. It's a romance. It's very beautifully written. The language is wonderful. What I might do during this video is I might write, I will do this. It's going to take some time, but I think it would be quite nice. I'm going to write some of my favourite quotes on the screen from the book as well. So if you want to get an idea of the style of writing, you can always pause and read a quote. So Call Me By Your Name is set in the 80s in Italy, and it is a story of a young boy called Elio. He's 17 and his dad hires an assistant over summer. So Oliver comes over summer to be his dad's assistant, and Elio and Oliver fall in love. And it is very beautiful. Normally I don't like books which aren't set modern day, but I love this. Everything about this I love. Is so beautifully written. So it's the story of how they fall in love and how they perceive that, and it's just everything about this is incredible. Everything about it's beautiful. The setting sounds very beautiful. I would strongly recommend this. I think this is some of the best fictional writing I've ever read. Their story is very believable, and also I feel like you go on a journey with the characters as well. So I would really, really recommend this book. Next I have this. This is Opposite of Loneliness by Marina Keegan. This is essays and stories. This is the only really short story type book I've read from start to finish, and I've really enjoyed it. It really shocked me how much you could get across in a couple of pages. I felt like you got a strong idea for all of the characters, even though each story had new characters and a new setting and a new storyline. And they kind of left you with a sense of intrigue. They left you curious but also content with what you learned, and it really, all of the stories really made me think. So I would definitely really recommend this. It's really interesting to have different people, different classes, different genders, different races, just different societies explored all in one place. It kind of reflects how many things are going on in the world and how we are not, although we're the centre of our own universe, we're not that important. I just really, really liked it. Each story filled me with intrigue. Also, I like reading short stories because it's nice to read a short story before bed and then go to bed, whereas sometimes when you're reading a novel or a longer book, you want to keep reading, whereas at least you could read one story and then bed. It was very interesting to hear different stories about different people in one tone of voice. I thought that was really great, and I really liked her style of writing. Next I have this, Always With Love by Giovanna Fletcher. Now I love Giovanna Fletcher. I think she seems wonderful. She's very talented. But I gotta admit, I didn't love this book. Now this is, I think there's 3 of these. So it's from her Billy and Me series, and I really like Billy and Me, although it did seem very young. The story wasn't as developed as I wanted it to be, but I did really enjoy Billy and Me. This, I didn't find myself wanting to pick up that much. The story of Billy and Me is the story of a girl called Sophie who meets a guy called Billy who also happens to be a famous movie star. She doesn't know that when she meets him because she doesn't know about these things. And anyway, they meet, they fall in love, they get together, and the first story is about how they adjust to that. And then she has kind of some family tragedies and things happen, other things happen, and he moves to the quiet town where she lives. So Always with Love begins with Billy and Sophie leaving to meet Billy's family in LA. As Sophie has not met them yet, Billy is on a break from acting, and it's about him getting back into acting and the distance between LA and her being back at home. I think it's longer than it needed to be. I think it could have done with a bit of a heftier edit, but overall it's a nice story, but I wouldn't read it again. My Not So Perfect Life by Sophie Kinsella. This I really liked. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I'm sad to say this is the first book I've actually read by Sophie Kinsella. I like her style of writing. I can't believe I've not read another one by her. Her style of writing is very simple, very easy to read, friendly tone of voice, easy to keep up with. So it makes reading it nice. This book is about a girl called Katie who makes out she has a perfect life on social media. She moves to London for a new job in marketing where she's treated like crap, where she can't really afford things, where she's having a really rubbish time, but she kind of poses things on Instagram to make it seem her life is perfect. She soon gets fired from this job because she has what seems like a really, really horrid manager. Anyway, as the book goes on, Katie moves back home. She starts like a campsite for like glamping with her family. They're starting it, and so she offers to help them out while she looks for another job. She hasn't told them that she got fired from her other job. She just told them she's off for a bit, which is not believable, but we'll get past that. So that's kind of what the book's based around, and then she steps away from social media, steps away from that London life, and begins to enjoy this life she didn't know she wanted. The manager, who was her manager at the company, comes back into play in the story as well. I think she's a very interesting character. Overall, this was good. Not amazing, but I was hooked and I wanted to keep reading. So I did enjoy it, yes. Again, I'd say that and Always with Love both have a young adult vibe to them, although I think they are classed as adult books. I wouldn't really say they're that adult. Can't quite imagine my mum reading a story about someone who tries to make her Instagram look good, but I don't know. And I say that, I said that like I'm not an adult. I'm an adult and I enjoyed them, so. When We Collided by Ermi Lord. This book I have spoken about over and over again. I've written a full blog post on it, so I will link it. This book is bloody beautiful. I can't get over how much I love this book. I'm still not over it. So this book is written in 2 perspectives, so it flips between the perspective of Jonah and the perspective of Vivi. Now they each have their own story, but they kind of entangle together as the characters fall in love. And that's not really a giveaway, I feel like that happens quite early on. So there's a character of Jonah who has a lot of siblings. I think he's one of 6. His dad has recently passed away and his mum isn't coping too well with it, so he is kind of playing parent. And he meets Vivi, who isn't from around here but is spending this summer until it's unclear when, but she's definitely there for summer, maybe longer. And Vivi is a bit more of a free spirit. She's a bit of a Phoebe Buffet, I'd say. But they seem to really balance each other out. Vivi's an only child. It's very clear that they've come away from summer to escape some stuff which has happened at home. Both characters were interesting. It's about their relationship. It's about mental health. It's very heartbreaking. It's about grief. It's about depression. It talks about a lot of stuff and it's really interesting. I just found both of the characters so enchanting. and the writing was beautiful. I really like this. I've read a few other books by this author. So I've read 3 books by this author. I can't remember what one of them was and it's driving me insane, and I also can't find the copy, which is a bit weird. Let's do this one next. So this one is also by Ermi Lord. This is The Start of Me and You, and this book I really liked. I didn't love it as much as One We Collided, but this was the book which got me looking for books by the same author. So The Start of Me and You is about a character called Paige. She's a teenage girl in high school, and her first boyfriend, who she wasn't with for that long, died in a drowning accident. So it begins with tragedy, and it begins a little while after. I think it's about 6 months afterwards. So the character has had time to grieve, and it's about her getting back to her normal life as a teenager. So it starts with her writing a list because she wants to feel normal again. She wants to feel like a teenager again. So she writes a list of things to make her become a teenager again. And she attempts to do these things over the next year. It's a really great book. There's a love story in it. There's a lot of friendship stuff. There's obviously a lot on grief. It's really nice, really interesting, really good. Next I have this, The Names They Gave Us by Ermi Lord. I went and found it because I wanted to talk about it. Right, so this book is very centred around religion, which made me think I wouldn't like it. But when I got into it, I did. It's about a girl called Lucy, who is a Christian teenager. She has a boyfriend who seems very religious and also a bit of a dickhead. She has a summer planned out. Her mum's recovered from cancer. Anyway, pretty early on you find out that her mum is sick again. So it starts off quite sad, and then Lucy's mum asks her to go to be a counsellor at summer camp. Lucy doesn't want to, but because her mum is sick, she doesn't want to regret saying no to her mum. So she does. And it's about the things she learns at that camp, who she becomes. I spoke about this before I finished it, and there are a lot of twists in even the last chapter. I feel like it was very close to the end. I think there are 2 big twists. So a lot of twists, very well written. You learn a lot about the characters. It's really interesting. I'd say the story starts with Lucy being very naive. It's kind of a coming of age story. She kind of comes away from that. The story ends and she seems to have grown up a bit. It's about meeting new people, relationships, judgments on other people. It's great. I really loved it. There's some stuff on transgender, teenage pregnancy. It covers a lot, as with both of the other Ermi Lord books. A lot of stuff covered, but very subtly. It's not overdone. It doesn't feel like things are covered to cover all their grounds. It's just how she tells stories. She uses things which happen in real life. There's some stuff on race in there. There are a lot of interesting characters in there. I really, really like this book, and like I said, the twists make it really good. So that is worth a read. But like I said, it took me a while to get into that because at the start especially it's very centred around Lucy's religious background, and I couldn't relate. Not that I'm not religious or against it, but I've never been in a strict religious environment, and neither have any of my friends that I know of. So it's very different to what I know, and that seems like what her life is around. And at the start it's quite sad because she's mad at God because her mum's ill, and it's very interesting, very good characters. Right, I'm going to do these ones as a free because they're all linked to All the Boys I Loved Before, P.S. I Still Love You, and Always and Forever Lara Jean. Sure, you've seen the Netflix series. I watched the Netflix series before I read the books, and maybe I prefer the Netflix series. Not Netflix series. Maybe I prefer the Netflix film. I'm not sure. But these are very good read for young adult fiction. Nice language, easy to digest, but still quite beautiful. Simple but beautiful, I'd say. So I'd say as the books go on, they slowly get worse. So To All the Boys I've Loved Before is definitely the best book. I'm a bit gutted that Lara Jean's neighbour isn't in the second and third book quite so much. Margot's character is very annoying in the books. Lara Jean is relatable, I like her, but I don't love her. She seems quite naive. They're nice. I'm not going to go into too much of the story because I feel like everyone will have seen the Netflix film. if you haven't, to round it up really quickly, a girl writes letters to all the boys she's loved. She does it with no intention of them ever reading it, just as a kind of, I guess, a bit of therapy for herself. And they get sent to the boys. And one of those boys happens to be her older sister's ex-boyfriend. So she then ends up having a fake relationship with another one of the boys she wrote a letter to hide that she had a crush on her older sister's boyfriend. It's a fun story. There's a lot more about her background in this, which I quite liked. I really like Kitty's character in the book as well. I really liked her in the film as well. I like Peter's character. In the books they definitely do a slow burn. He's definitely not likeable at the start and he slowly becomes more and more likeable. I liked how they did that. They didn't rush into him becoming likeable. I really liked these. I didn't love them. I would say they were amazing, but I also read all three in quite a short space of time, so I obviously liked them a fair amount. And I probably would actually read them again as well. I feel like they're the type of books where you might pick up more the second time you read them. This one, I'm sure you've all heard of this one. I never know how to say it. Eleanor Opulent. Eleanor Opulent is completely fine by Gail Honeyman. This is a great story. It's got kind of a thriller edge to it. It's the story of a lady called Eleanor, and she seems to have a quite simple but also sad, lonely life. She seems to have a problem with drinking. She's in a routine of going to work, going home, drinking on the weekends, going back to work, going to Tesco's. That's kind of all she does with her life. She seems socially quite unaware. She's very funny to read. It's also written in her perspective, which is interesting. So the story begins when Eleanor begins to socialise with a man from work. So she begins to socialise with a man called Raymond from work. She's not really interested in socialising with him, but they seem to be getting thrown together and they eventually become friends. Eleanor's got a very sad past, which comes to the surface at the end, and you kind of hear snippets of it throughout. It's a kind of book with quite a big twist that I don't want to give anything away. So I'd say this is just one to read. It's a very interesting character. It's equal measures of funny and heartbreaking, which I think is very hard to do, but the way the character is written, the way the character speaks, she's hilarious, but it's also very sad because you can see she's got a very sad life. Also, her friendship with Raymond is very precious. It's a real heartbreaker, this book. It's really sad in places. I'm not going to say too much because it's definitely one of those books where I don't want to give things away, but I would recommend. I'm sure you've heard about it, and for good reason too. Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. This book I really enjoyed reading. So it's a bit of a mystery, this story, and it doesn't come out, the story doesn't unravel until the very final pages. I read it and I felt confused that I had a few pages to go and I still didn't know what on earth was going on. So it's the story of a girl called Asa, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, and her friend Daisy is in it a lot, and it's about her and her friend try to solve a mystery. And there's a boy called Davis whose father has gone missing, he's disappeared. Davis is a very wealthy boy. He seems to have a very distant relationship to his dad, but his dad has disappeared and nobody knows where he's gone. So it's a story of them trying to find his dad. I'm going to be honest, it was a very long time ago I read it and I don't remember all that much more. I remember the twist at the end, which I cannot say, and that was a very good twist, and like I said, it all came together at the end. I remember there's an edge of a love story on it, but I don't remember it that clearly. But I did enjoy reading it and it had me hooked. I know that it was really good. So this is great, I'd recommend reading it. I like John Green's writing a lot. He's written my favourite books. The F Word by Lily Pebbles. I'm a huge fan of Lily Pebbles. I think she just seems like such a nice, genuine girl. So I was very excited when this was coming out. So the F Word is Lily's book about female friendships. It's kind of a memoir. It's kind of, she talks a bit about her history of female friendships and how she's kept her friendships, combined with sort of an advice book and just kind of, I guess, observations on female friendships. I really enjoyed this. It made me really value my friends. It's a very feel good book, and there's a lot of interesting stuff in it. She offers advice. I like everything about this, and I like it coming from Lily as well. As somebody who follows her, I know that she does seem to have great female friendships. I think she's a great person to discuss it with. The language is very much fit to Lily's tone of voice. It sounds like her. I've read it in her voice. I would recommend that, and also I really like the cover as well. I mentioned this in a recent video, and then I said I would talk about it in more detail here. So, Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. Bloody love this book. I feel like everybody loves Dolly's writing. If you don't, you probably just haven't read enough of it. This book is really very good. So it's Dolly's memoir. It starts in her teenage years and goes on to her early 20s. And it's about all the things she's kind of learned from love. Both friendship love and romantic love. It's about her relationships. It's about her learning to kind of navigate the world as a new writer. It's about her relationship with her body. It's about her friendships. It's about how they change, how they develop. It's very well written. It's very relatable. It's very funny. I really like this. I said I was going to talk about it in more detail, but I don't really want to say too much because I think you should read it. So there's parts about her going to therapy. There's parts about her feeling upset when her best friend gets a boyfriend. There's parts about her dating. There's Tinder dates. There's her falling in love in America. There's a lot of love in this book. There's a very sad part. I cried on a bus when I was reading this. All the characters are very real because I guess they are the real people in her life. It is a memoir after all. I really, really like this. It's so relatable and it's so touching as well. She Must Be Mad by Charlie Cox. We knew I was going to come to this, didn't we? My favourite book. I'm obsessed with this book. This is a book on poems. So it covers 4 different sections. There's a section on body image, a section on adulting, a section on love, and a section on mental health. I won't go on about this book too much. It's my favourite poetry book. Charlie's poetry is relatable and real and modern day and very good. She knows how to do words. I'm going to read you a poem called Wrong Spaces. Why does the guilt always hit so late? Twist and rip, it breaks me in two. Still not half enough, still too halt to dive back into. Dizzying nausea fills me up more and more. Spurting, bursting, all-encompassed hurting. Still not half enough, still too whole. I'll read you another one. Inner Gold. Soften the shards that broke you clean, fresh and angry as though they seem. They can be rounded as gems, handed as souvenirs to those who are yet to find light in all your rotten old fears. If you like poetry, you'll like this. If you don't like poetry, you'll still like this. It's really good. Those are all the books I gathered for the ones that I wanted to talk about that I read last year. I think I read more than that. I'm not sure if how many I got there. But now I'm just going to talk about the ones I'm currently reading and the ones I would like to read. Like I said, I've just made some selections because this video could go on for hours. I started this a while ago but put it down. I can't remember why and didn't pick it up again. So I want to get back into this year. The Multi-Hyphen Method by Emma Gannon. I went to an Emma Gannon event as well. She is very lovely. The Multi-Hyphen Method is a career type guide on how you can kind of do more than one thing. Your career doesn't have to be one thing. You can be a multi-hyphenate person. You can do more than one thing. And a lot of people have said to me that is very suited to you. It was pretty much written for you because I like to do a fair few things at once. Like I said, I started reading it and then I can't remember why I stopped. I think I was reading something else, so I finished that and didn't get back into it. But I only got to page 35 so far. I spoke about the definition of success and it was really interesting. Another book which I have been dipping in and out of is this one, Feminists Don't Wear Pink by Scarlett Curtis. Now this book is a collection of essays on feminism. So I've read a couple of them, not all of them. but it's very interesting, very inspiring, very good. And also it donates to charity when you buy a copy as well, which is great. This book I started reading yesterday and I love it already. I think I'm just got to the end of chapter 2. This is The Rules Do Not Apply by Avril Levy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, but we will find out. I really like this so far. The writing is very beautiful. Like I said, I'm not very far into it, but I'm already in love with it. I think this could end up being one of my favourite books from the year because the writing is just so beautiful and it seems like it's going to be very interesting. A lot has happened already and we're not very far through. This is a memoir as well. And then some books which are on my reading list. I won't say too much about them because I haven't read them yet. Crazy Rich Asians, heard great things. This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. I've not heard anyone say they've read this and not cried yet, so that should be good. And Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste NG. And lastly, Wishes Fulfilled by Dr. Wayne W. Dyer, which is a book on manifesting. So I'll be reading all of those ones I just mentioned soon, so I will keep you updated. I'll keep you updated on the ones I'm on as well. Right, I feel like this video may have gone on forever, but I had a lot to talk about. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. Please subscribe to my channel. Please let me know any book recommendations you have. I will do my best to link below any blog posts or anything where I speak about these books in more detail. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you are not already. Sending you good vibes. Bye.